button. I'm hitting the streaming. We're streaming. It's dreamy. Yeah, we are. There we go. Hello, everybody. We are live. This is This Week in Science, trying out something new. I don't know if it was a good idea, but we're trying it out. It's fun. Fun and new. Blair and Justin are dealing with echoes in their heads. The ghosts of audio. The ghosts of audio past.
Actually, I think we clarified the reason my echo was saying different things than I was saying. Wasn't that my echo was broken? It was just the voice in my head was talking over me.
You don't ever want the voice in your head to talk over you. All right, let me make sure I've got the right document set up here and see if I can get... yay, there's get the free node up here. I want that here. Yes, you do not believe. We are here. We each have our own image. We're right next to each other talking about things. Isn't it amazing? It's so amazing.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, well, so auditorily, I've got family members who run into microphones. Boom, 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 boom. So let's see if that makes it any louder. I can hit my gain. Let me know if I need to hit my gain. Should I? Yeah, we need to say stuff for a bit before starting just to make sure our levels are good because we haven't done this before. Identity 4.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Pandas, pandas, pandas.
Hello. Yes.
Echo, tuna fish.
There's that. Echo, tuna fish. That's what you said. I know. I knows it. And how is my audio? Is it any louder? Should I hit my gain?
Go ahead and play with the game.
To me, you are not as loud as Justin.
Right.
No, and Blair is a little bit into the, what do you call it, when you get into the red. She's a little saturated at her top end there.
Yeah, so Justin's a little bit loud, and so is Blair. So let's see. I'm going to bring down the gain. 4 decibels. How's that? Blair, say something. There's 5 decibels.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
And Justin, I'm going to bring you down.
Testing 1, 2, and 3.
It was 5 decibels.
Much better.
Hey, Blair. Hey, Blair. Is it possible that we both got this gig because we're loud?
Highly likely.
Like,
I've
bring
been told
me the
I was loud
loudest
since I was
co-host.
a toddler. Yeah.
And I'm going to
that
turn
tracks,
up my gain
for sure.
here because I don't know if I can. Let's see. Can I boost my gain? I can boost my gain. Boosting my gain. Am I as loud as everyone else now?
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
Have we done it? Are we peaking? There's a lot of peaking.
In the chat room, can you hear an echo at all?
One, 2, 3. I can hear my echo.
Yeah, I can hear yours
But
and
it's
mine.
not horribly
if they
disturbing.
can't hear it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, then I do. Okay. Yep. Identity 4, don't hear no echo from Ed in Connecticut. Rob, no, I thought I did. Wait, louder than yes, echo. Louder
Kiki.
Then yes. Well, it says louder Kiki, then yes, echo.
What do those words mean together?
I must be louder. I just gave myself, what is this? I'm boosting. I'm hitting the top, peaking.
You gotta be saturated
there we go.
now.
Yeah, I just gave myself. That's not good.
No going fada, say no echo.
I say take it down 1 notch.
Take it down a notch. Take it
One.
down, take
Just a
it
singular
down.
notch.
6 decibels of gain.
Whoa.
That sounds good.
I have given myself 6 decibels of gain.
Uh-oh. Hot Rod says he can hear an echo.
Yeah, they're saying when you're louder, I think, is when you get the echo.
Okay.
Because the echo is pretty quiet. I mean, it's a pretty quiet echo. It's not as loud. It's not like at volume. It's definitely a muted sound.
Okay. Let's see. I just turned down the master volume a little bit, so we're at 60% output.
Testing. 1, 2.
Good.
Guest 29257 says, I like echo. Start show.
I like it. Start the show. That's right.
Is there a monitor?
Identity 4 says, this is great. Start it. Oh, I hear a little echo now, too.
Very good now.
Okay.
I wonder if it's a monitor, not at the same delay as the regular.
It's very possible. I have things yet to learn about this that I would, if there is a monitor on vMix that I should be getting rid of, that would probably be something I should learn about.
Tested our delays, but if that monitor is, because there's a delay to the echo, it's pretty significant, then that might be a thing. But who cares? Let's do a show.
Should we do a show? As long as we've got a good
time.
audio. Identity says it's good. We need to do a show. Oh, I want to be there. There, be in the middle. Why do I always feel crooked compared to my cameras? I always feel crooked. Let's start this thing. There is a delay. How do I get rid of the monitor? This is a good question. We get rid of the monitor. We'll figure it out. But we are starting This Week in Science in 3, 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 664, recorded on Wednesday, March 28th, 2018. New to science? Hey everyone, I am Dr. Kiki, and tonight we are going to fill your heads with a bit of dark matter, with humans in Canada, and important sharks. But first...
Disclaimer. The following hour programming is for people with really big brains to enjoy at their leisure. Other people are welcome to listen as well, but may run the risk of overfilling their brains with sciencey information. If you are unsure of your particular brain's capacity, ask yourself the following questions. 1. When I learn a new thing, do I immediately forget something I used to know about? If the answer is no, you'll be fine listening to the show. If the answer is yes, move on to question number 2. Question number 2, is the thing I forget that I used to know about uselessly outdated information that I can safely do without? If the answer is yes, you may proceed with listening further or closer, as the case may be. If the answer is no, you may want to reconsider listening. And if the answer is I don't know, then it's probably too late and you're already listening to This Week in Science. Coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Yes! Science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And a good science to you too, Justin and Blair and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. We're trying out some new things. So, bear with us. But I think it's moving fairly smoothly now that we've gotten ourselves started. Thank goodness for this science and technology that keeps us going and online. It is amazing. And you know what? We're also not going to talk about this week that's not science. The Earth not being flat. Well, I mean, it's science that it is not flat.
Did they just discover it's
That
flat?
science is centuries old.
Wow. Science is so good at figuring those things out.
I know.
Well, I
people
always
can-
thought it looked
so
flat,
good.
honestly.
People can just build their own rockets and shoot them into space and then, parabolically come down somewhere else in a desert that they plan to and still hurt their backs. But
He went to space? No, he went up like 1,000
he didn't
feet,
go
though.
to,
That's
he went to
pretty
like
good.
1,500 feet, something like that.
That's
yeah.
pretty dang good, though. I mean, that's really cool. Regardless of who he schnookered into giving him the money to build the rocket, pretty impressive.
It's very
That's a
impressive.
technical term, schnookered.
Schnookered.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. We're not schnookering anyone here today. No, on This Week in Science. Tonight, we have a wonderful show ahead. I have some stories about too much, too little, and worms. I do, yeah. What do you have, Justin?
I've got humans like everywhere in my stories here, and a buried controversy.
Okay, I like buried controversies. That'll be interesting. Okay, and then, Blair, what's going to be in the animal corner?
Speaking of bearing with us, I have some bear news.
Oh, good.
I have some shark news. And I have news about being very full.
All right.
Follows the fat and taste bud story from last week, just piggybacking on that.
All right, we've got some. Well, I'll play off of your dietary fullness feeling and taste buds with some other nutritional stories.
Ooh,
We'll all
that's
be
fun.
in it. Yeah, it'll be fun. But as we
All right, maybe I'll
jump-
find a gut microbe story just to get into.
Yeah, you jump on that right now.
Go find something. Go get it. So as we jump into the show, I want to remind everyone that they can subscribe. You can subscribe to This Week in Science if you have not done so already. We are in iTunes, the Google Play Podcast Portal, Stitcher, Spreaker, and TuneIn. You can find information and links to several of those things at twist.org. You can also look for us on YouTube and Facebook, This Week in Science. But now it is time for the science. Let's get into it. No dark matter about it. That's what's coming up now. No dark matters. No dark matters about it. Research this last week using a variety of telescopes. A bunch of researchers came together to look at galaxies far, far away, right? And they used the Hubble telescope to make a lot of these galaxy observations. And some of the galaxies that they looked at, they call diffuse galaxies, or they're just, they don't have an abundance of gas and dust and the stuff that makes galaxies reflect light so that they're really visible. But they found one particular galaxy that seems to have the least amount of anything. In fact, it doesn't even have any dark matter. It's a very unique galaxy. It's called NGC 1052DF2. And they think that based on the mass that they have measured, based on the speed at which, the velocity at which the stars and planets are moving around this galaxy, it has maybe 1/400th the amount of dark matter that it should have. So it's super light on dark matter. And the issue with this is if there's no dark matter to hold things together, how did this galaxy really form? They don't even think this galaxy has a supermassive black hole at its center. So what they're looking at is a galaxy that somehow is ultra diffuse and may have formed in a way that has never been thought of before. This could be part of redefining a new method by which galaxies can be born. They are following up on hypotheses as well about whether or not this galaxy could have had run-ins with other large galaxies, but they really don't think that that's the case. They don't think that at any point in history this galaxy ran into another galaxy which stole its dark matter. They don't think that happened. I think this is just a galaxy that formed somehow, clumped together, but without all of the stuff that causes the clumping.
So I'm not. In the past, obviously not been a big fan of this dark matter idea.
Right. Yeah.
But I've also not been a fan of a lot of other ideas that ended up being the way the universe works. But I'm very interested in the fact that it's not just that it's missing the dark matter; it's also missing the black hole at the center of the universe that's keeping everything together. Which then now we have at least a one-off correlation between no giant black hole in the middle of a galaxy and no dark matter together, which means they're probably linked.
They probably, right, that they find these things together. So it doesn't seem to have, that's the spiral shape of a normal spiral galaxy. It doesn't look like an elliptical galaxy. It doesn't have a black hole. It doesn't have dark matter. It's just kind of this globular cluster that they are calling a galaxy. It's about 10 billion years old. And the globular clusters within the galaxy are twice as large as they are in other stellar groupings in other galaxies. So it's like the local groups are clumping together, but it's very diffuse. There's nothing there holding it together, yet it's held together somehow. And all these stellar bodies are traveling together. Yeah. It's mass and gravity, but the mass is not coming from dark matter.
Yeah. So, but the thing is now, what immediately jumps into my head though is that dark matter itself, the gravitational effects of this is just an affect of a supermassive black hole, maybe. Like this is what extreme gravity does, and it's just different than maybe we could. I don't know. That's pretty awesome. That's a fantastic clue to go to set people tracking this thing down.
Yeah, absolutely. So they are hunting for more because these kind of diffuse galaxies, they're not common, but they're not too rare either. But this particularly deficient galaxy, this really takes the cake for rarity. And so they're looking for more dark matter deficient galaxies to be able to study it a little bit further and see if there are more similarities and if there are traits that they all have in common. So, yeah, the researchers say every galaxy we knew about before has dark matter, and they're all in familiar categories like spiral or elliptical galaxies. But what would you get if there were no dark matter at all? Maybe this is what you would get. And that's what the researchers say. But they're looking into it further. This is going to be published this week in Nature, the journal Nature. Pretty cool stuff. Moving on from there, a little bit more space news for you. We love the TRAPPIST-1 system. The TRAPPIST-1 system is that wonderful close-in multiple star system in which there are lots of rocky planets, and there have been artists' renderings of what sunrise would look like on one of these TRAPPIST-1 planets, that looking at multiple suns coming up in the sky and also being able to see multiple planets almost as close to each other as our moon is to us, where these planets would be visible and big in the sky, in the night sky. And people have been really hoping that the TRAPPIST system could be habitable, right? You've got these planets, they're kind of in the right zone for liquid water. And so, researchers are like, let's go check out the water signature. Let's figure this out. And so some new research has come out from Arizona State and Vanderbilt universities, and there is water There is definitely water on these planets, but there's a hitch.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wait,
No.
what?
No, there's too much. Too much
Wait,
water.
what? What do you mean too much water?
Excuse
There's
me?
no such thing as too much. Yeah.
There is too much water.
How can that possibly be?
What does that mean?
That
Does that
makes
just mean
no
all
sense.
the other stuff is so dilute that they're not banging into each other enough to make life?
Possibly, or that, and that's actually, Blair, it's a a very basic way to put it, but yes, if you have too much water, the compounds that are necessary for creating life actually won't have the right, it won't be the right concentrations within the water to have the reactions happen that would create the molecules for life. So you're right. They won't be banging together.
Blair explains it. Should this be a new series?
This is it.
I
Yeah.
don't think they're just banging together. When there's too much water, they just don't bang into each other. It's like they're in a giant pool.
The stuff just doesn't bang into each other. Exactly. And so the researchers were looking at the mass of the planets, and they were like, okay, these planets are too small to hold on to enough gas to make up this density deficit, because some of these planets are too light to really be rocky, but they're not. There's something not right about their density, and so they realized, oh, the amount of gas it would have to be. This is actually water that's there. The density deficit is made up with water, and so whereas Earth has like 0.02% water biomass by mass, these planets, they're about 20 times 20%. The innermost planets marked TRAPPIST-B and C have less than 15% water by mass. The outer planets marked F and G have over 50% water by mass, which is way too much water for life to take hold. And so the question now is whether or not, we think light water is necessary for life, but maybe this is a bit too much. Maybe this is the chink in the armor of the TRAPPIST system for habitability, and it won't be there, unfortunately.
I guess I really don't understand this. I don't. It seems like, water is a fantastic solvent. It's, you can put whatever materials are in that surface soil or come down from heavens can get mixed up pretty well and dispersed throughout an ocean-y system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the size of these planets, which my picture I have in my head is that they're pretty small. That mass may not be, that gravity there might not be that insane. You could have,
right,
pretty decent different gradients of condition. I don't know. I don't see why that's such a big hindrance.
Why is it such a big hindrance? Yeah. Why is it going to keep? Well, there is the problem of if there's too much liquid water and it's just oceans and there's no ability for a surface above the water. The researchers from Vanderbilt University have said, we typically think having liquid water on a planet is a way to start life. Since life as we know it on Earth is composed mostly of water, it requires it to live. However, a planet that is a water world, or one that doesn't have any surface above the water, does not have the important biochemical or elemental cycles that are absolutely necessary for life. And so you need to have the runoff from the earth into the water due to rain cycles. You need to have you have to have something that cycles the nutrients to be able to lead to life getting its foothold. And really get its foothold. And who knows, maybe there's, a bunch of bacteria floating around in there, in all that water.
There could be thermal vents down there, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the tectonics are of the underneath.
We don't know. But also, we don't know. Who's to say that life is to be made as it has been made before. That's kind of the conversation that we have a lot too, is, life finds a way. So there could be a methodology for life to come together in an extremely watery world that we just don't know about.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but I think it's very unlikely. I think we might have. The thing that I always think about when having this conversation is, why haven't we seen several dramatically different types of life appear on this planet? I mean, the idea that the planet could only be right for one type of life, then it seems kind of like we would. But then the argument to that, which I always find convincing, and abandoned my first argument, is that, well, it probably has tried. It could have tried, but once the niches, I think, Blair, you make this point brilliantly. Once the niches are filled, there's not room for a little startup life form. It gets gobbled, no matter what it is.
Also, we do have kind of weirdo life. We have this conversation about viruses all the time. Is a virus life? But that's a weird, uncategorized life.
Yeah, but it comes down to it. It comes down to it, though. Yes, there's all these weird life on Earth, but there is, like Justin said, there's really only one source from which all life came. And additionally, Ed in the chat room is agreeing there needs to be some chemical interaction. And, there's a question, would evaporating water provide a chemical interaction? So not necessarily, only if there were a surface upon which that water were evaporating. I don't know that just condensation or evaporation from the surface of a large body of water would have that same effect. Yeah. So you need to have those chemical interactions first. Metabolism. The churn and the metabolism. Justin, tell me a story.
Trappist. Too darn wet.
Too darn wet.
Justin, go
ahead. This is an amazing story. Humans have been found living in Canada, which may not sound like very much of a story until I tell you that these humans are 13,000 years old, which sounds like a way better story than it actually is, because these humans are now long dead and probably lived very normal lifespans. Researchers uncovered 29 human footprints belonging to at least 3 people, which radiocarbon dating estimated to be around 13,000 years old. Measurements in the digital photographic analysis revealed that the bare footprints, they were barefooted, probably belonged to 2 adults and a child. And this was off of Canada's Pacific coast. The research team excavated intertidal beach sediments on the shoreline of Calvert Island, British Columbia, where the sea level was 2 to 3 meters lower at the end of the last ice age than it is today. Much of the shoreline now it's beautiful territory. If you ever get a chance to visit British Columbia, it's some of the most beautiful sort of lakes and islands, and it's all heavily forested. But you have to get there to these places by boat, because there's not roads that go everywhere. So it's one area that hasn't actually been archaeologically explored very well. So this is a pretty amazing discovery in that sense, that they found this on this island. The study's published today, March 28th, in the open access journal PLOS One by Duncan McLaren, colleagues from the Kai Institute, University of Victoria, Canada. What's interesting, though, is I think there's some, and I think it's including these researchers, that find this as adding to a body of evidence supporting a hypothesis that humans used a coastal route to move from America during the last ice age. Not disputing that in any way, but there's already humans throughout the Americas, north and south, 13,000 years ago. So this, as in terms of a populating of the Americas story, this is kind of late for that, right? 13,000 years ago, there's already people to the southern end of the Americas, South America. I mean, we're already everywhere here. So if they did follow the coastline from time to time in making that trip, they would have done it much, much earlier than that. Maybe many thousands of years earlier. So find is really awesome. Lovely snapshot from the past in an area that we don't normally get these snapshots. But yeah, they're going to go and do some more excavating and do some more searching and in this area. What's sort of interesting is there's this finding. This is Cody Voice, Duncan McLaren, the lead author of the study. This article details the discovery of footprints on the west coast of Canada with associated radiocarbon dates of 13,000 years before the present. This finding provides evidence of the seafaring people who inhabited this area during the tail end of the last major ice age. So he seems to think they're seafaring, which I don't know. I don't get why. I guess it's an island now, but no. But that would be that's part of the problem too. It's boats. The material that boats were always made out of throughout the ages was wood, which unless your boat sank into an icy, frigid Scandinavian waters, it probably just rotted away. Boats are really hard to hang on to for time. So. Yeah, Ed from Connecticut says Canada has a large wilderness area. Who knows what is living there? You're right, Ed. They'll probably find some more.
Sasquatch.
They might find ancient remains of Sasquatch while they're at it. Yeah, and so in other human-y news, this is let's see. There are, like here now in this coastal area of Canada, which I wouldn't have known to look for people. There are people apparently just about everywhere you look, except for the deepest, darkest reaches of the Amazon jungle.
Dun, dun, dun.
That turns out there were people there too. Parts of the Amazon previously thought to have been uninhabited were once home to thriving populations of up to 1 million people, the new research is showing. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence that there were hundreds of villages in the rainforest away from major rivers, and they were home to different communities speaking varied languages. So the researchers, and you know, if you're an archaeologist, you're looking to spend the 3-week excavation that you've got looking somewhere where you're most likely to find something to excavate. So they usually look along waterways because humans, whether it's by the coast or by rivers, usually stick to a waterway. Apparently, though, when you live in a rainforest, you don't really have to travel that far to find water. So away from these rivers, it might actually even be safer if you think about it for the Amazon with the flooding and stuff that can take place there from time to time. So they assumed, though, that these ancient communities were near the waterways, and now they've found this evidence of these huge populations and strings of villages all over the place on this interior. So let's see. They uncovered remains. This is in Brazil, in the state of Mato Grosso. They analyzed charcoal remains, excavated pottery. They have found a 1,800-kilometer stretch of southern Amazonia was continuously occupied from 1250 until 1500 by people living in fortified villages, and that's a pretty big area. In fact, they've got these things called geoglyphs, which are these strange sort of constructions. Which I don't know if this is going to turn out that this is the outline of the fortifications of the dwelling for the village. Or if this is, it kind of looks like an irrigation trench around these structures. But some of them were circular, some of them were kind of more squared off. They had all these sort of geoglyphic designs, and they found them over an area of 400,000 square kilometers, which that's a lot of square meters. So everyone looked, finding that people have been there. And they were apparently farming. They were paving the rainforest. Well, not paving it, but farming in the rainforest.
They were tearing up paradise to put up a parking lot.
Kind of were in a look. Yeah, I mean, well, like the idea that mankind has never touched well, apparently they were, and may have sort of been responsible for some of the foods that we later on think, oh, here's a great food that comes from South America. Well, it's probably been farmed there for the last 1,000 years. These things don't just. Some of this didn't, was cultivated. They were growing. Looks like they were able to grow crops like fruit trees and Brazil nuts in these areas.
Yeah, so people now in the rainforest are definitely trying to farm and do a lot of these sorts of things, but I wonder if the trouble currently is actually about what they're trying to farm, because I think that's the really interesting thing, is hearing what they were farming there before. Because what people do now is they do a lot of slash and burn to create pasture for cattle. And they'll also slash and burn to do monoculture of things like coffee. So as we look back and see how people used to farm in the rainforest, that actually might be a good information source for how to sustainably farm in that space now. It might actually be an interesting way to look backwards to move forward.
Yeah, this has got one of those. My favorite archaeological statement. This is by the way, researchers from the University of Exeter. They call the mysterious earthworks geoglyphs, man-made ditches with strange square, circular, or hexagonal shapes. Experts still don't know the purpose of these earthworks, as some show no evidence of being occupied. It is possible they were used as part of ceremonial rituals. Ceremonial rituals? Like, this artifact must have been for ceremonial rituals. Is the universal go-to as soon as an archiologist is flummoxed about something.
Must be a ceremony of some kind.
Yeah.
This
here's a dingle hopper, and this here's a
Nobody would
flat,
make something because it looks
yeah.
cool. Like, nobody was into art. That makes no sense.
No, it makes no sense. It wasn't there for just because it was there for work. Because it was there and it worked. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Possibly used as part of ceremonial rituals. All right. Okay.
More evidence on that. Although there is a lot of evidence from structures in South America having ceremonial significance. So.
Yeah, there is. But that I'm sort of picturing when the future mice re-inherit the planet and take over and are running society, and they're archaeologically excavating past human civilizations and go, there's this place that the humans went to called the DMV, where they would ritualistically stand in line for long periods of time. Like, I mean, out of context, I guess it just does look like some sort of random ritual that people are engaging in. But there might have been a very practical, mundane, perhaps even, explanation for these things once we actually know what's going on.
Do we know what's going on? Do we know what time it is? I know what time it is.
I sure hope it's that time.
I know it's that time. It is time for Blair's Animal Corner.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. Wanna hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels.
What you got, Blair?
Oh my goodness, I can barely wait to tell you all about the bears.
Bears! Tell me bears.
So a study from Norwegian University looked at a particular species of bears, the best studied species of bear, potentially, the Scandinavian brown bear. They are the most monitored of all of the bears, according to Norwegian University. They have been following them closely since 1984. They have studied over 500 bears from birth to death. And they have been studying all sorts of things about these bears. But the thing that they wanted to talk about in this study that was released this week was all about the mothers and their cubs and how long they stayed together. So normally, the mothers and their cubs would stay together for about 1.5 years, and then the cubs would go off on their way and go forage their own food and find their own homes and become an adult bear. Get out of my basement. But today, 15 to 20 years after this study has started, they are seeing a shift. They are seeing that these Scandinavian brown bears are staying in much greater number longer with their mother. So they think that this is mainly due to the fact that right now about 300 bears a year are hunted, and this is allowed, but there are a lot of rules on how these animals are hunted. And the one that they think is most important here is the fact that there is a ban on hunting family groups of these brown bears. So a single female is 4 more times likely to be shot as a female that is spotted with a cub. So the fact that she is alone, she is allowed to be hunted legally. If she is with a cub, she is protected because of this law. So that means there is hunting pressure on females that let their males go. So at first kind of shot through this article, it sounds like the bears are getting smarter and they're saying, oh, Junior, stay with me. It's safer here if you stay here longer. But that's not actually what's happening. They are selecting. We humans are selecting for a particular type of Scandinavian brown bear. And that is the one that keeps the cubs longer, because if you let your cub go after 1.5 years, you are more likely to be shot. So those females die, and the ones who keep their cubs for 2.5 years, they are spared. So they continue on their genes. So in the period from 2005 to 2015, the number of females keeping their cubs for an additional year increased from 7% to 36%. The individuals themselves never altered strategy throughout the study. So we know for sure this is just purely selection. So why this is important is that females who keep the cubs longer, in this case now, are safer. But this also means they reproduce less often. They come back into the ability to get pregnant and give birth again much later because they're keeping the cub for an extra year, which reduces the total number of offspring throughout their lives, which without humans hunting them based on whether or not they let these cubs go live. Without that, that would be a losing strategy, because you want to send out as much of your DNA into the world as you possibly can, have as many babies as is possible. But in this case, this is actually winning out over that strategy of having more babies. It is more important to keep your cubs. There's more selection for that because of humans hunting them. So this is important for us to know for a bunch of reasons, but the main one is that if we are trying to save a species by setting new hunting regulations in place, and that is then altering the makeup, the behavioral makeup, and the genetic makeup of a group, we need to know that. And in this case, if the Scandinavian brown bear was shrinking in numbers, this would not be a great thing to do, because you would be inadvertently creating a genetic bottleneck. So this is super important to know that our hunting rules actually select within a species, which makes perfect sense. We're predators. But it's something we now need to consider. So,
Like, yes.
The one shot, I just feel like you're all alone. Doesn't it? Isn't it lonely in that?
I know, I was like, am I all alone? Are they still there? Hello?
Where did they go? They left me here in this little box.
Did you like my bear story?
That was that lovely bear story.
Shall I continue? I wasn't sure if I was alone in this world.
You are not alone. No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move right on to sharks then, if you'd like.
Do it.
A new study from University of California, Santa Barbara, looked at coral reef sharks. Specifically, they were looking at their benefits to a coral reef environment and exactly what their services to that environment are. So this was through UCSB, Imperial College London, and the Zoological Society of London. They all worked together to analyze these reef sharks and to see kind of the trail throughout a shark's life of their services in the ocean environment. So they look specifically at a national wildlife refuge south of Hawaii called Palmyra Atoll, which apologies if I said that wrong. They used acoustic tags to map the sharks' movements across the atoll. They combined these insights with existing knowledge about sharks' feeding habits, and they compiled all of this information, analyzed the tracking data. They looked at a spatial network of movements, and for the first time, they could actually estimate the quantities of nitrogen deposited around the remote reef via shark poop. They found that these gray reef sharks, about 8,300 of them, contributed a total of 94 kilograms, that's about 208 pounds of nitrogen to the reef ecosystem per day, which contributes substantially to the reef's primary productivity. So I'll remind everyone, I've talked about this on the show a million times, but coral reefs are super important for a bunch of reasons, but especially because coral reefs are responsible for about half of the oxygen that we breathe. So coral reefs, not just really pretty, super important to life on Earth.
Wait a second. What?
Yes.
Like in all the times we've talked about coral reefs, I don't think this ever came up. You're saying that they're producing half of the oxygen that we breathe? Are you serious? What?
Yes. Yeah. Coral reefs are.
Oh, now I care. I didn't care
contributors.
before. I didn't care before. Not that I didn't care, but like I didn't really care. But I didn't know this. It's not all the trees. It's not the plants. It's the coral reefs.
Yes, it's the coral reefs. Yes,
Really?
absolutely. We would not be alive
have been
without
living
them.
in ignorance my whole life.
Mhm.
I would not have guessed that. I would have gotten that wrong on a trivia, even if it was even if the other questions were totally illogical, the other answers on a multiple choice, I still wouldn't have guessed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So coral reefs super important, not just because now they need our protection, not just because of hunting and fishing practices, but because of climate change, because of sea level rise, because of pollution, and now also it turns out because of the villainization of sharks. So people think sharks need to be eradicated. They think they are dangerous. They want to remove them from environments where people are going snorkeling in the beautiful reefs. Well, it turns out if you remove those sharks, the reef may die because those sharks are bringing nitrogen from the pelagic, from the ocean, from the deep areas of the ocean. When they eat food out in the deep ocean, they're bringing nutrients into the coral reefs. One of the reasons coral reefs make all that oxygen is that they have the photosynthetic algae, the zooxanthellae, living inside of them, the coral, because there's not a lot of nutrients in coral reef waters. It's so crystal clear. There's nothing to eat there, pretty much. So the sharks are bringing this nitrogen to an area that is very nutrient poor. So this vibrant ecosystem is thriving off of shark poop. So not only do sharks provide this amazing ecosystem service of controlling population numbers and being apex predators, but on top of all of this, they are bringing nutrients from the deep ocean into shallow coral reef waters. So
half of the oxygen?
Sharks are important. Yes! Look it up!
And sharks are helping with this?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're bringing in different kinds of nutrients that the local species wouldn't necessarily. The local species are just recycling stuff. But you have these
protect these sharks.
you have
their
these
major
pelagic creatures that go out and come back. Yeah.
what is the biggest threat to these sharks? Because obviously we got to protect them, so we got to take care of their major threat.
People.
Well, that is a rough that is a rough question. There's a lot going on with sharks, but the number one thing that you can do for sharks is fix their bad rap. Just talk in favor of sharks. Fight for sharks, as the Shark Stewards, the nonprofit that try to save shark species, say. Fight for sharks.
Fight for them.
Spread the word. Stop the smear campaign. The more people care about sharks, the less they'll want to remove them from ocean ecosystems. On top of that, the other really big thing that sharks have to deal with is non-sustainable seafood methods. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of sharks, particularly smaller sharks like gray reef sharks, are pulled out of the ocean for unsustainable fishing practices. Long line fishing, all sorts of netting that they use, gill nets, trolling, all of those sorts of things. And then, of course, there's the huge problem of shark finning, which I won't even get into right now. But there's lots of resources out there for you. Contact me online. Help me fight for sharks.
Yeah, I think the big stuff are there's the fishing nets, and there are the fins, the fish being fished for their fins. And so if they're getting caught in nets as bycatch, that's one way that they're going down in huge numbers. The other way is because we want their fins for soup. Come on.
Another unknown kind of tidbit about that. I don't want to ruin fish sticks for anyone, but a lot of fish sticks are made out of spiny dogfish sharks. They're common bycatch, and people turn them into fish sticks.
Well, at least they're getting used.
We literally had fish sticks. Me and the kids.
Yeah.
But at least they're being used, really?
Yeah. Right. The problem is a lot of sharks, another problem with sharks is that a lot of sharks are pregnant for over a year.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to discern what is a pregnant shark versus a non-pregnant shark, and it takes them so long to replace each other biologically through reproduction. It's an uphill battle when you're removing them from the ocean. So fight for sharks.
Let's try not to remove them from the ocean. Let's fight for sharks. I know. Yeah. A lot of people love sharks.
I need to tweet at the Shark Stewards now. They're going to be blowing up. Fight for sharks.
Fight for sharks. That's right. Save a spider, save a shark. All these things that we've thought that we shouldn't. I'm scared of them.
How are those?
I must get rid of them.
This world's really complicated now. Now, if I save a spider, it's going to be better for a shark?
No.
This is getting really... So I don't know.
I was just equating.
Help misunderstood animals. Sharks, spiders, snakes. Help the misunderstood animals.
Especially the sharks, though, now that I know that they're helping with 50% of the oxygen that I breathe, because I like breathing. I'm into that. I think it's a really cool thing.
Breathing's pretty great.
And I understand it's pretty important to the plant. Is there something we could do specifically, though, aside from raising the reputation of sharks? Is there something that we could do in decreasing the reputation of Australians, perhaps? that would help the balance?
There is that. Just oppose the coals. Oppose the coals.
What we need to
not
do...
entirely, no.
What we need to do is be able to maintain the coral reefs. What we need to do is preserve the coral reefs so that these sharks have a habitat to go to as part of their life cycle, as part of their feeding runs, as part of what they do. If part of what they do is go out to the ocean and then come back in, this is a really important behavior, and the coral reefs are a big part of it. So preserving coral reefs is going to go a long way into helping to save the sharks, but also fixing the fishing problems and all that would, although it's going to be really hard to eat fewer fish sticks.
Ocean acidification and all of it. Just be good, everybody. Just be good.
Just be good. And on that note, let's take ourselves to a break. This is This Week in Science, and we will be back in just a few moments with more science. Oh, yes. There's more science coming, and I do hope that you will stay with us for it. We'll be right back.
Can't explain the things you've heard with more than intuition. A line of reason shows the way to go. New conclusion. The methods of hypothesis and patience are the only things I need.
Hey everyone, this is This Week in Science, and yes, we are taking a very quick break, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for joining us to celebrate science and to work through some of the technical issues that we are playing with as we are rolling out new software with which to broadcast the show. So thank you for sticking with us, but this is all part of the bigger plan and you're helping us do it. So thank you very much, and thank you for helping me to test stuff and giving us feedback on the audio. We could not do this without you out there for all of it. So props to you, and thank you for being here. Now, I just want to say, for those of you who would like to help TWIS out a bit more than just by being here, there are several ways that you can do that. You can go to TWIS.org, which is our website. TWIS.org is a place that has all of our shows. You can listen to them there. It also has links out to different aspects of our community. So if you're interested in merchandise, you can go click on the Zazzle link at the head of the page. That Zazzle link will take you to our Zazzle store, where you will be able to find all sorts of fun merchandise, things with the TWIS logos all over them. And then, if you want a t-shirt or a hat or a mug, that's where you go get it. So you go to TWIS.org. Click on the Zazzle link, and you'll be able to buy something with a TWIS logo or with an image from a past Blair's Animal Corner calendar. And I mean, who doesn't want a woolly mammoth lumbar pillow? Come on, this is going to be great. From there, you can come on back to TWIS once you've done your shopping. And if you're interested in supporting us through donations, there are a couple of ways you can do that. We have PayPal buttons all over the website. So there's big orange one, yellow one on the front page that allows you to donate once. And it's just a very simple donate, goes through PayPal, easy peasy. However, if you want to donate on a recurring basis, two ways you can do this. Go to any show page, scroll down to the bottom of the show notes, and you will find pink PayPal buttons. Those pink PayPal buttons will allow you to donate on a recurring basis, either $2, $5, or $10 per month through PayPal. If PayPal's not your thing, you can click on the Patreon link that's at the top of TWIS.org, and the Patreon link will take you to our Patreon community. The website for that is patreon.com/thisweekinscience. There, you can donate at a variety of different levels. It's a once-a-month donation, and the level that you choose comes with perks that are associated with it. Our thank yous for your help supporting us and keeping us going and helping us pay the bills and build the show on a month-by-month ongoing basis. If you're not able to financially influence the show and help be our executive producers, one way that we can very much use your help is in getting the word out. So if you can tell people about TWIS, tell people about where we are on iTunes, tell them to go to TWIS.org and click on our subscribe button to try and help get us more subscribers, that would be amazing. If you could help us do that, if you could help us get out there to more people, that's huge. You're our chief marketing officers, you are. That's right. So, once again, we thank you for being here, and we thank you for all that you do. We really couldn't do this without you. I just have to hit the buttons right. Just get it in the right place.
We can't explain the things you've heard with more than intuition. A line of reason shows the way to go. New conclusion. The methods of hypothesis and patience are the only things I need. Put on a pair of goggles and go looking for the things I couldn't see.
And we're back with more This Week in Science.
Yay, we are back. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the second half of our show. We have a whole bunch more stories ahead. However, we're going to start this second half out with This Week in What Has Science Done For Me Lately? What has it done? What has it done? Well, it has done so much, and I just want to put it out there that the person who is writing in this week has been listening to TWIS for a very long time. And she writes in, science has given me a deeper appreciation for everything and is constantly keeping me humble and amazed. I graduated from UC Davis in 2000 with a BS in electrical engineering. I was one of the 10% of females in my class, by the way, but that is another topic. The amount of physics, math, logic, and programming that I studied has allowed me to see the world with a new appreciation. I was particularly interested in learning about where the hardware met software and how we could possibly push these electrons through silicon logic gates and get the amazing software we all take for granted today. I'm far from an electrical engineer now, but I am an avid knitter. I started knitting when I was pregnant with my son 11 years ago and haven't stopped. You might be wondering, what has this got to do with science? Well, knitting is made up of two stitches, knit or kint, knit and purl. Much like the zeros and ones that underpin our entire complex digital life, I can take the knit and purl stitches and create elaborate sweaters, socks, hats, and plushies for my kids. I've grown an appreciation for the natural properties of wool. Did you know it's naturally antibacterial, water wicking, and keeps you warm in the cold yet breathes in warmer temperatures? Knowing the micron lengths of the fibers has allowed me to pick wool yarn that if my knits get thrown into the wash, then they won't felt. I also spin my own yarn now, and again, it's science that has given me a deep appreciation for this ancient craft and understand how the twist energy in a single ply and the alignment of fibers can affect how fluffy or smooth the yarn turns out, which affects the drape of the garment or object I create. I've learned about natural cycles, natural dyes, and how indigo dye vats are actually alive. These age-old chemistry experiments have given us color to play with and wear. Could you imagine only wearing gray, white, black, or brown every single day? So that's my odd story about what science has done for me. That, and everywhere I look, I can appreciate just how much science goes into it. Science is all around us. Sometimes I see Fourier transform patterns when driving past a field of young orchard trees. We have learned so much being on this bright planet, yet there is so much still unknown. So thank you for bringing the science each week. Sharon Troya. Sharon, thank you so much for that story.
Yeah.
That's great. I've played with indigo dye before. It is so fun.
Yeah,
So
you
I
have?
tie-dyed a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
With my indigo.
Indigo dyeing. Yeah, the dyeing procedure is really fun. If anybody's ever played with colored dyes for their clothes or fabrics or even their hair, that's different and fun processes. But yeah, I love the way that she brought the knit and the purl with the zeros and the ones, the digital binary code. Knitting in binary. This is a scientific pursuit. I love it. Sharon, thank you so much. It's wonderful to know that you've been listening to us for so long, and thank you for sticking with us. I'm glad we are able to bring you science every week, and I'm glad you still enjoy the show. Thank you for writing in. And everyone out there, remember, we need you. Keep writing in. I want those letters. I want to keep it going. We got to make it. Can we get a whole year of this? That's what I want to know. Can we get a whole year of this? done. I think we can. I think we can do it. But in the meantime, leave us a message on Facebook. That's facebook.com/thisweekinscience, or send me an email, Kirsten@thisweekinscience.com. Justin, want to tell me a story?
Absolutely. As soon as I find... Oh, this is a cool... Oh, yes. This is an international team of researchers led by Dr. Asier Gomez Olivencia, which I love this name. Gomez Olivencia, because I feel like you kind of have to like take almost like a superhero pose.
Yes.
Every time you say that last name.
Yeah, I love it.
Olivencia. It's I love it. I might change my name for next week's show. Who is out of the doctor's out of the University of Basque Country. Also, they had Binghamton University anthropologist Rolf Quam, and they're looking at Neandertal skeletons discovered 100 years ago, La Ferrassie 1. So this is adult male La Ferrassie 1 Neandertal skeleton was found in 1909, French cave site, along with remains of an adult woman, several Neandertal children. All of the skeletons were interpreted as representing intentional burials. This is one of the first real sparkings of the imagination in the public that Neanderthals might be much more human than they had previously been given credit for. And it was also sparked a lot of academic controversy as to the interpretation. Is this really a burial? How can you say it's a burial just because you found it underground? Like it's just... So, and this was somebody, La Ferrassie 1 was most likely over 50 years old, had suffered broken bones as Neanderthals often do in their rough and tumble lifestyle, and they think he had an ongoing respiratory issue when he died. So this was also a site that was repeatedly occupied for 1,000 years, which, you know, that's how they built homes in the old days. They were built to last. But the controversy kind of did revolve around whether or not this was an intentional burial. How do you know? So they've got this new technique where they modeled the bones, and they went through and looked, and they found that a lot of the fracturing of bones happened after death from the weight of the sediments that built up on top. And one of the key arguments saying that this was potentially not an intentional burial, but maybe like a collapse cave or something like that, where there's debris that piles up, was because of all these broken bones. And they thought maybe that's just how they died, or how he died in this cave. But nope, this new forensic technique that they've applied shows that those fractures that were being pointed to happened after death, and were not the cause of, but that they happened over time as the tendons sort of stopped holding stuff together, and that weight built up and then crushed some of those bones. So, burial of a controversy and a Neanderthal.
Bury them both at once.
Yeah. That's how they built them in the old days. They built the houses out of rock. So I don't know what that last shot was of those stairs. I don't think that was part of the original burial chamber. Just in case anybody's like, wow, Neanderthals were building stairs. It's odd that they would use that shot. That was likely created for the archaeologists.
For the researchers.
To gain access. Yeah, and was not part of the original construction of the dwelling, which would have likely just been occupying a cave.
Just occupying. Well, you know what else might be occupying you?
What?
Do you really want to know?
Sounds like no. Next.
Next story.
What else we got?
Oh my goodness.
No,
no.
what's in there? Go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, this is something maybe you don't really want to know about, but maybe it's positive. It's potentially positive after all. So
Now I'm intrigued.
yeah. Worms are what this story is about. Yeah, so
Tell me
researchers,
more, I guess.
yes. Some researchers were looking at, they're from Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard University, and they were looking into the effect that roundworms have on the body. Now, we know there are lots of ideas about the hygiene hypothesis that we've talked about going back historically, that as we've become cleaner in our society, there has been less and less infection by parasites, and as a result, we have diseases that are popping up, autoimmune, allergies, all sorts of skin conditions, diet, that our guts are having issues, and people are thinking, maybe if we put some of these parasites back, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. So.
Yeah, I've heard some of these arguments. Yeah.
Yes, we've heard these arguments. So this team looked at the effects of a particular parasitic roundworm known as Heligmosomoides polygyrus. And this is a roundworm that it spirals around and round and around and around. And it's round, it's not flat like a tapeworm, but it is an intestinal parasite. And its life cycle takes it through the host's intestines, where eggs are laid and more roundworms and, great times are had. So they gave these worms to mice and wanted to see whether or not it had an effect on obesity. So these mice were either given a control diet or a very high-fat diet. And then some of them were infected and others were not. So the mice that were fed the high-fat diet but were not infected, they got fat. They became more obese. And they had all the metabolic markers of obesity. So increased inflammation. They had a lot of issues that started to come from that inflammatory response and for the obesity itself. For the mice that had been infected with the roundworms, what's your guess? What's your guess?
Perfectly thin, swimsuit ready mice.
You got it. You've got it. Yeah, they gained barely any more weight than the simply control diet mice. And the control diet mice with the worm infection weighed about the same as the obesity, the high fat diet mice with the infection. So what they saw additionally is that these mice that were on the high-fat diet were protected not just from the weight gain aspects of the high-fat diet, but also from the anti-inflammatory. They had greater numbers of anti-inflammatory immune cells in their bodies as well.
I wonder if they got to keep their taste buds also.
Right? So, yeah, exactly. Maybe they got to keep their taste buds too. But really, this is a study that suggests, and it's adding to the evidence that the humans do potentially, I mean, this isn't a human study, this is a mammal study of mice. And we all know that mouse physiology is not the same as human physiology. But that there is a potentially nuanced relationship between mammals, potentially humans, and parasites that could lead to, I don't know, little weight loss, little healthier life.
I don't know. I think I'm going to say pass.
Hard pass there?
It's not, I wouldn't call it a hard pass at this point. I'd call it a soft pass. If there was enough science, I could probably be convinced to swallow a tapeworm. But for right now, soft pass.
Soft pass. Well, okay, maybe, how about caloric restriction?
If a soft pass is what you're looking for, look no further than Dr. Justin's Not a Real Doctor Poo Pills, but you don't have
You did it.
Oh, he did it. Of course he did. He couldn't stop himself. All right. So, but maybe if you don't want to be ingesting worms for your health, how about a little caloric restriction? How about that?
Oh,
we talk
this again. This is.
We talk about this on occasion. It's still
It seems like it comes up a lot, and every time before and I'm not gonna.
I haven't even started. You're jumping.
I know, but it's every time I hear the caloric restriction story, it's been debunked or confirmed, like soundly.
One or the other.
It's happened many times to where I almost can't. We got to go 50-50, Blair, without seeing her story. Have you seen her story? I have not.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to say caloric restriction is a bad thing this time around. So
What's your guess? What's your guess?
Oh, I'm definitely going to go with a good thing. I feel like it's been leaning heavier towards a good thing lately. Like it's like we used to say stress is bad, but we found out that occasional stress actually keeps you healthy. You can't have a stressless life. It's kind of like that, right? Yeah. You can't always be full. You have to go through periods of fasting to be healthy. That is my guess.
It's sort of like that. That's sort of like saying, I used to not look both ways before crossing the street. I wouldn't look. I just crossed the street. And then I almost got hit by a car one day. So now I look that way before I cross the street.
It's not going to serve you very well if you're in another country. Okay, this study came out March 22nd. It is a research by a group out of the Pennington Biomedical Research Center at Louisiana State University, in which researchers, endocrinologist Leanne Redman and her colleagues, enrolled 53 healthy men and women between the ages of 21 and 50, so kind of mid-age. They got split into two groups. One caloric restriction group, where they were reduced by 15% over 2 years, and the other just got to eat a regular diet, no restriction whatsoever. This is published in Cell Metabolism. It's not on monkeys. It's not rodents. This is people. The team found the people who ate a restricted diet lost weight, which makes sense. They also experienced a 10% drop in their resting metabolic rate, which is the rate, the amount of energy that the body consumes while you're at rest. And so that dropped. Additionally, the researchers examined the blood, and they found reduction in markers that were involved in oxidative stress in those who cut down on calories. And the researchers say after 2 years, the lower rate of metabolism and level of calorie restriction was linked to a reduction in oxidative damage to cells and tissues. If byproducts of metabolism accelerate the aging process, calorie restriction sustained over several years may help decrease the risk for chronic disease and to prolong life. And this is a part of a larger multi-center investigation of caloric restriction in humans that is ongoing. And there's a question about this, though. Yes, you lose enough weight. If you starve yourself enough, your metabolic rate is going to go down. You will have a lower resting metabolic rate because your body is trying to conserve energy so you don't die if you're starving yourself. And additionally, the change in the oxidative stress isn't necessarily going to lead to a longer life. We don't know that that's what does it, and so we don't know if the low metabolic resting state rate is actually a biomarker of longevity. And so the researchers say you can be calorie restricted by eating a hamburger and a few French fries each day, but are you going to live longer? No, you're going to die from malnutrition.
That's what I was going to say is they weren't paying enough attention to, would we see a lot of this similar benefit from eating healthy versus just reducing calories? Chances are a lot of these things you would see. If you cut out hamburgers and ate more broccoli, you're also going to lose weight. So
Right.
there are other things that you can do that may actually be healthier for your body besides starving yourself. I think we all know people who don't eat for a very, very, very long time and then have a giant meal. And sometimes that works for people, but sometimes that could actually do more harm than good. So I think there's so many variables when you're dealing with diet, and especially when you're doing studies on real humans that aren't kind of in like a captive environment where you get to feed everybody the exact same mouse pellets that are either high fat or low fat.
And
There's
you get
so
human
many
chow.
variables.
You get human chow.
Get some
Yeah,
nice
so
bachelor chow.
If we did a study ourselves where I ate 15% less calories than the two of you, but they were all in like fast food hamburgers, right? I don't know that we'd really get the same result as this study, or and
You'd be eating fewer calories, so your body weight would go down. And then there may be, because of that, the fewer calories and it's the restriction itself, it could change the oxidation levels in your body. Could be better. I don't know.
What you eat. It's how much you eat. It's what your gut microflora decide to do with what you're eating. Everything that anybody has ever told you about nutrition is wrong for somebody else. Because otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking about this now. It would have been settled a long, long time ago.
Yeah, if everybody were the same, right?
Yeah, if everybody were the same.
It's also what you do before and after you eat.
That worked for somebody. Would everybody be like, oh yeah, that's it works for everybody now?
Works for everyone.
We're done. Nutrition was solved. In the 80s, the fad diet. Fantastic.
In the 80s.
It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't.
Tell me a story, Justin.
Too many variables.
You have a story on here. And this one used a mouse model. This is researchers from North Carolina State University. They found that antibiotic use creates a continental breakfast for Clostridium difficile. So Clostridium difficile it's kind of a problem, but not for most people, but it's like it can cause infections in the gut that can be pretty severe. Can even become fatal at times. It seems to attack people who have recently undergone antibiotic treatments, and in this study, they did an antibiotic treatment to mice. They monitored their gut environment at the initial introduction, and then 12, 24, 30 hours after that introduction. And turns out that, without competition, without all the other bacteria that are vying for the nutrition in the gut, C. diff, which is its street name, goes by C. diff, kind of took over and was was like fantastic. I love it. Yeah, give me room, lots of room.
Yeah, I got lots of room to grow.
Yeah, and even adjusted some of its diet to include other things that it normally wouldn't have had a chance at. So, again, this is one of these new things that we're learning, that our gut is a very active environment. It's its own ecosystem, and so now the idea is trying to find a probiotic, meaning a bacteria to put in somebody's gut right after they've had antibiotic treatments that were to kill everything off in their gut, to now compete with C. diff, specifically for the nutrients that C. diff will be going after. So
I'd like to follow up on this a little bit. There's a new antibiotic that we've talked about a few times, Teixobactin. And Teixobactin just had a new study come out. They've been able to create it, synthesize it in a laboratory. This is a new antibiotic that was discovered from the soil, and it's basically an antibiotic that bacteria use to fight bacteria. It's a new class. They have now gotten to the point where they can synthesize it in a laboratory, and most recently, a group from the Singapore Eye Research Institute used one of these synthetic versions to treat a staph infection in mice. And so they, as well as clearing the infection, the synthesized Teixobactin minimized the infection's severity. And this was not the case for the clinically used antibiotic moxifloxacin, which was used as a control in the study. These findings are published in the Journal of Medicinal Chemistry. So this is even while we're discovering that antibiotics can potentially kill, they broadly kill the good bacteria as well as the bad. But like you said, opening up the doors for other species to come in and gain headway. That might be part of this new arsenal that we're starting to develop. So find out the things that would minimize C. difficile's ability to take a foothold, even though everything else has been killed off. And then also have a new class of antibiotics that would be able to fight off a secondary infection once it got started. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
At some point, though, it is. I can't help but think of the cane toad.
The cane toad. Why are we back to the cane toad?
No, because we still. I mean, we're very far away from knowing how to kick off an ecosystem of this type properly. We're so far away still from, we really need to take a full, in the way that an antibiotic has that broad kill strategy, we need to have a broad reintroduction strategy based on models of healthy humans. At some point, maybe it would be possible to come up with a bacteria that is going to attack that one bacteria, maybe a couple others that you're having a problem with in the system, but you're introducing species one at a time into the ecosystem. You don't know what you're going to get as a result further down. It's like, look, C. difficile no longer a problem. Oh, which opened up a continental breakfast for something even worse. We still don't
right.
This is
that's such a good point. Yeah, absolutely. It's an ecosystem. You're totally right.
Yeah.
It's an ecosystem, and we can't treat it like it's not. Like, you go in to the Amazon and cut down all the trees. Yep. What's going to happen?
Yeah, you take a really nasty round of antibiotics that's like clear cutting and burning an entire forest.
I am that mom who, every time I give my son antibiotics, I'm like, I'm sorry. There's nothing else I can do. Yeah. I apologize for what this is doing to you.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Brains. There's a new way of looking at brains that has got researchers very excited. It's a mapping technology that's been developed at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory. And this technology is called MapSeq or MapSeq, MapSeq. And what this technology allows researchers to do is to basically tag neurons with little bits of RNA that then travel all over, get copied and travel all throughout the neurons that have been tagged. And then they're able to chop up the cortex of the brain and see where all those little RNA tags are. And so basically it allows them to see where synapses are connecting, where one neuron from one area of the brain is potentially branching out and reaching to other areas of the brain. And so far, the technique that's been used is called single neuron tracing. And single neuron tracing, it's basically you get dye and you have to follow, you are dyeing a neuron and trying to trace its entire track. And sometimes you lose the map, you got to keep going, you got to find your way through, but you're just tracing a single neuron. And it can take a month, up to 3 months to do these single neuron tracings to be able to get information about where neurons are connecting from one area of the cortex to others. This MapSeq technology was just tested by a graduate student at Stanford University, Justice Kebschel. And Justice Kebschel, he used it to compare the brains of a mouse autism model with healthy mouse brains. That's what they're starting to work on right now to see if there are differences that will pop out through this mapping technology. And they compared their first results with the single neuron tracing, and they had they traced 31 mouse neurons in the primary visual cortex to 7 different cortical locations. That took 3 years to do. 3 years to trace 31 mouse neurons and where they went to 7 different locations. Using the MapSeq technology, they would map to the projections within the cortex arising from 591 primary visual cortex neurons.
Wow.
How long do you think it took?
Well, that based on the first, I think something in the neighborhood of 3,000 years.
No, this took 3 weeks.
Woo! Right on.
3 weeks. 31
Quite
neurons taking 3 years. Now this technique is allowing researchers to hone in on 500, 600 neurons in 3 weeks and the connections that they are making. So, and they've revealed with this that the neurons that they're looking at target multiple visual areas, and that the same proportion of cells project to 2 or 3 or 4 cortical areas. I mean, they're finding some real information about architecture in the brain and the interconnectivity of the neurons that are within it. So this is a new method that I am absolutely positive we are going to see more of in the future.
Very, very cool. Yeah, what's going on?
I don't know. There's noises. I don't know what the noises are coming from. I'm like, I'm in the basement. There's noise.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So anyway, new way to look at brains and to map them out. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, yeah. Did you guys hear the study this week about what's being called this new organ system in the body?
No.
That, it's a new discovery and there's this new organ system.
Didn't hear about it.
Didn't hear about it. All right. Well, it's called the Interstitium. And it's not really new.
Okay.
And it's probably not really its own organ system. So This is going to be debated, I think, for a while. So similar, last year in February, there was a discovery of a new tissue within the intestine called the mesentery. Now, the mesentery, we'd known the mesentery was there forever. It's this tissue that holds onto the intestine and attaches it to the body wall so that your intestine doesn't go slip and slide and it doesn't tie itself in knots and yes, exactly, and get you in all sorts of trouble. However, so last year they discovered that, the mesentery is also involved in shuttling white blood cells and other factors to different areas of the intestine. And so maybe that makes the mesentery its own organ. Probably not. But anyway, this was the question. Now the discovery, this is somewhere up there with the lymph discovery from last year and 2 years ago, where they've discovered these new lymph vessels in the brain, which could be a new communication pattern between the blood and the brain and the immune system. But the interstitium, this is the interstitial space. This is the space between the cells. It is the space that fills with fluid when you have edema. It is a fluid carrying space. It is very important, but it is called the interstitium because it's just intermingled. It's in between things. It's the interstitia.
It's like that space in between the nucleus and the electrons. It's just no man's land.
Yeah, but so the researchers now are saying, well, it's not just no man's land. We just used to look at it in these fixed sections where we'd use, we would use formaldehyde to fix the sections so that we could slice it up and we could see what was going on in the tissue. But when we did that, we were squishing all the liquid out and we weren't actually looking at the tissue. And so they did a different sectioning process, flash freezing, and they've seen this really interesting banding of tissue and of fluids, of components that are part of it. And they suggest that the interstitium, similar to the mesentery, may be very important for fluid balance and actually part of the management of fluid balance, maybe for the transfer of hormones and other communicating molecules within the body, that this interstitium could be much more important than we've previously thought because we weren't looking at it right. I don't think it gets to be its. I'm gonna go on the. It doesn't get to be its own tissue platform though. I think it just. I think it. Yeah, its own organ.
Shots fired.
It's a tissue, but it's not necessarily its own organ system. Yeah. I know that's what I say. That's what I say. But who listens to me anyway? Hopefully our listeners.
Here, Kiki's going to have her interstitium removed to prove that she doesn't actually need it.
I don't need it.
I mean, it's just water weight, so.
I know. Don't we all want to lose that water weight anyway?
Yeah.
Hey, Blair, tell me a story.
Oh, speaking of eating too much, first of all, if you had not eaten anything at all day, let's say you skipped breakfast and lunch, and I told you to run a mile, how would you feel about that?
I don't run anyway, so
that's
no.
Touche. But it would be pretty difficult because you're very hungry. You're not well fueled. Well, similarly, if I had you eat a giant plate of macaroni and cheese, and right afterwards I told you to run a mile, how would that make you feel?
Can't run on an empty
Yep.
stomach, can't run
Well,
on a
it
full
turns
stomach.
out that extremely descriptive sound, fish feel that too. So a recent study from the University of Glasgow wanted to extrapolate on previous studies showing that hungry fish are often found towards the back of animal groupings, like in fish schools. They then wanted to see what happened when you fed dominant fish at the front of a school a big meal. And they found that when they ate a large meal, they moved to the back of a social group due to reduced aerobic capabilities by food digestion. So during their digestion process, leading fish were forced to slow down and take up positions toward the back of the group in order to conserve energy. And that is a similar experience to what we have when we try to exercise after a large meal. That change of position means that temporarily, at least, individuals oh boy, individuals who
Hey, individuals.
are usually those little individuals who are usually at the front of a group are less able to influence group behavior after a large meal. So that raises further questions about group dynamics during periods after a feeding. So do animals take turns feeding? Do they avoid large meals if they know they have to lead? These are great questions that we now have because we know about this interesting phenomena.
At least to the fish, it makes me assume that the leader fish aren't really the leader fish. They're just like somebody else stepped back, and so now they're at the front. So like, okay, we'll keep going this way. That's what I've been doing for a while. And then they get fed, and then they're like, they get sluggish, and then somebody else is the leader fish. And it's sort of like
Right.
they just keep on changing their position within the school dynamic?
My understanding is that this is not like a V formation of birds where they all kind of take turns being at the very front. This is a group of minnows that in a research context, they identified dominant individuals that usually took the front. And that after they ate, they dropped to the back. And once they had digested their food, right back to the front they went. So I think the implication here is that there are dominant individuals, but that they have to drop that space so that they can catch their breath and not, get a terrible little fishy cramp.
Fishy cramps. Oh, man. Yeah. Nobody wants to get...
I got it.
Nobody wants to get fishy cramps. Fishy cramps.
I have the fishy cramps.
Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs and the fishy cramps.
Oh, no.
It is the end of the night, and we have come to the end of the show with a bunch of fishy cramps.
Fishy cramps. Is that the cramps you get after eating a bunch of fish sticks, Justin?
And then going running. I ate a bunch of fish sticks, and then I tried to run. I guess I have the fishy
It's more like...
cramps.
Yeah, I ate a bunch of fish sticks and then I chased a toddler around my apartment. Is that what happened, Justin? Got the fishy cramps.
What happened?
Yeah.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I would love to give shout outs to Fada, who helps with social media and with our chat room over on YouTube, and also Identity4 for recording our audio, for Brandon for helping us out over on Facebook, and for all of you just for being here. But right now, I want to say a special thanks to our Patreon sponsors. Thank you to Richard Onimus, G. Burton Lattimore, Paul Disney, Harrison Prather, Charlene Henry, Joshua Fury, Andy Gross, Steve DeBell, Alex Wilson, Tony Steele, Ed Dyer, Craig Landon, John Ratnaswamy, Brian Condren, Richard, Eric Knapp, Kyle Washington, Time Jumper 319, Bob Calder, Bill Kay, Jason Roberts, Matthew Litwin, Mark Mazzaros, Sarah Chavis, Jacqueline Boyster, Richard Porter, Artyom, Rick Ramus, Sean Bryant, Paul, John McKee, Jason Olds, Brian Carrington, Christopher Dreyer, Lisa Slazewski, Jim Drapeau, Greg Riley, Sean Lamb, Ben Rothig, Steve Lessman, Kurt Larson, Robert Aston, Rudy Garcia, Marjorie Gary S., Greg Briggs, Brendan Minish, Christopher Rappin, Flying Out, Aaron Luthen, Ken Hayes, Matt Sutter, Mark Hessenflow, Kevin Parachan, Byron Lee, E.O., Mark, Tyrone Fong, and Keith Corsell. Thank you so much for your ongoing support over on Patreon. We couldn't do this without you. If others of you are interested in helping us out through Patreon, you can find information at patreon.com/thisweekinscience. Remember, you can also help us out just by telling your friends about TWIS. On next week's show, we will be back once again talking about science, and I have an interview scheduled. Ooh. Yes, I have an interview Aha, here we go. Our interview next week is with Dr. Ayanna Howard. She is from the School of Interactive Computing at Georgia Institute of Technology. She is a roboticist. She's going to talk to us about making robots and being a woman in the robot space and doing awesome things. So I can't wait to speak with Dr. Ayanna Howard next Wednesday evening. This should be a lot of fun. And once again, we'll be broadcasting. We'll be broadcasting online 8 p.m. Pacific time on twis.org/live. You can watch and join our show and join our chat room. Don't worry if you don't make it, though, because episodes are going to be available at twis.org/YouTube and just twis.org.
Thank you for enjoying the show. TWIS is also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory, or if you have a mobile type device, you can look for TWIS, the number 4, Droid app in the Android marketplace, or simply This Week in Science in anything Apple marketplacey.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. That's at www.twis.org, where you can also make comments or start conversations with the hosts and other listeners.
Or you can just contact us directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, which is spelled TWIS, somewhere in your subject line. Otherwise, your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIScience, at Dr. Kiki, at Jacksonfly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes through in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
it's all in your head. And then the music. Cue the music.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science.
This Week in Science.
This Week in Science. Science. This Week in Science.
This Week in Science.
This Week in Science. Science. I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just yet understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. Science. Got a laundry list of items I want to address, from stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This week in science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say, and if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
There's one too. All right, it's the end of the show, and now it's the after show, and I'm sorry about all of the jumping into the new software, but you gotta do it somehow, and if you don't learn how to swim, then you sink.
The age-old proverb. You don't learn how to swim, then you sink.
Yeah, so I have to figure out, I gotta work on the, I need to get instead of my mouse, I need to get a vMix has, you can have a key control where a button will control certain things. And so for using this for TWIS, I can have our setup saved and have certain buttons that specifically will do certain things, so that I won't be like click, 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 click all the time. Because I know that was an issue tonight with this microphone. It's a really good microphone.
Mm-hmm. It was very nice. My other question is if we can adjust the lag at all, which is just what happened right this moment. We had some trouble figuring out when to talk because the lag was definitely longer than it has been in the past, I think.
Okay, yeah, so there's something to do with the delay. Justin, unmute yourself. Oh, wait. Your audio is on. Unmute yourself.
Talking away. Self-muted. Let's find out what this lag actually is. Let's do on 3. We'll clap. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow. Wait, can you tell it's really off if we're all lagged? Like, I mean, it was like me, then wait a minute, then Kiki, then wait a minute, then Blair. Is that what you guys saw, or did it seem to happen all together to you? Like, I'm confused. Like,
it seemed like you and I were a lot, for me, it seemed like you and I, Justin, were a lot closer, and then Blair was just sitting and waiting.
What happened to me? Why am I on an island?
Let's try this again. On 3, which means when I say 3.
We clap when you say 3.
Clap. So you say
after.
1, 2, clap.
So, right. 1, 2. Wow. So I clapped, and Kiki, of course, you're right there with me in your version, but I clapped and then like waited a second and a half or two. Like I had to wait for you to clap, and then Blair's processing speed looked even slower because then she. But I'm wondering if this is how lag works, and it works in reverse if we're tethered in some way. So Blair, I want you to start.
Okay, we're clapping on 3.
Wait, hold on. I gotta make a window smaller so I can see you. Okay.
1, 2.
So from my perspective, we all did pretty good. Kiki was a little late, but not bad. But I was right there with you, Blair, from my perspective, because I'm probably watching you lag. What did you see?
All right. I saw Kiki was slightly after I went, and you were way after.
That's so funny. Yeah.
We are tethered. So because
you guys are both tethered through me. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's why.
This is interesting.
Okay, so there is a lag, and so I have to figure out how to fix the lag. So I will look into that because I know vMix has mentioned they have delays that you can add into stuff on purpose. So it's just a matter of finding the right thing to get it going. Oh my gosh, I'm using a Windows machine again for the first time in a really long time. I can't remember how to do anything. None of the keyboard shortcuts work the same way. Well,
The shortcuts.
The shortcuts don't work the same way.
Yeah. I wonder if fixing the lag will fix the echo too.
So
Yeah,
but the
maybe.
echoes- but the echo is getting into the audio stream. That's the problem altogether. Even if it was behind our head, it shouldn't be making it back into audio again. Right? Like.
Optimizing performance.
I will be right back. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, but I guess I'll ask when she gets back. I'll ask questions when she gets back.
Hot Rod thinks that's for sound. Video syncing is not lag.
Not lag compensation. Yeah. But there's got to be some way to fix that.
I don't know enough about these things, but I think you could fix it for the, like, if you fixed it right away, then I don't see how it could be fixed. I don't think it can be fixed. The problem is me and Blair are in two different time zones, so to speak, tethered through you. So my lag with you is different than my lag with her, and so if you say slowed me down so that I'm saying the things right with you, I'm still not with her. If you speed her up to be with me, I'm still not. We're both not with you. We're just be in my time zone. I don't know that there's a way to both be in your time zone because time and space, very wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, wibbly wobbly. And Ed from Connecticut, I've been standing up most of the time. I did sit down on my knees on a chair just now for a couple of seconds, but then I got up again, and now I'm staring at my computer screen trying to figure out what to do. Mix minus technology built in. So that's what I have to figure out. Okay.
We can't be the only people who've ever had this problem.
Probably not.
I also have a question.
What would they call
it? If we move forward with all of this system-y stuff.
We're testing, yes.
Yes. But if we did, I'm just asking a hypothetical here, and something happened, as life sometimes does,
right?
Where I had to host a show, would we just do Google Hangouts again for that one?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's all I wanted to know. I was like, do I have to learn how to do a crazy thing?
No.
Yay!
Yeah, we would just do a Google Hangout for that one show, and that's how we would.
I love that answer.
Yeah. Don't freak out, man.
No, I'm excited for all of it, but I was very much like, oh, this is new.
This is new and different. What are we doing? Oh, wait. I have to look over. I put my camera like right in the middle of my screen here so that it wouldn't be really high above my eye line. The video delay input allows you to select a custom delay to the output or a capture input. This feature can be used to achieve many kinds of effects, including slow motion replay. Oh, I don't need slow motion replay.
Mm.
I don't need quality of that. No. No.
1, 2, 3, not it.
No. It's not helping me. I'll find it. I'll figure it out. I'm not going to find it out right now, though, but I will do my research.
Yeah. Like I said, we can't be the only ones to have ever had this problem, so.
Yeah.
The
And
answer must be out there.
the answer must be out there. I did want to... Oh, stupid butt-face computer, is it? Identity for stupid butt-face computer stopped recording during the Patreon sponsor read. Can we get the rest of it from YouTube? I think I can download the rest of it from YouTube to make it happy. Fada timed out. There we go. Yeah, I'll figure that out. So next week, I just wanted to test this and see that it was working, and I will see about making it work better. And maybe I'll find out if you guys have time at some point to do a test.
Mm-hmm.
Testy. But I want to make sure that things are working right and we don't have a lag and a bunch of echo for a guest. So
right.
Next Wednesday will probably be Google Hangout as normal.
Okay.
Just because I know it
Sounds
works.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. Why haven't noticed any of this with the Google Hangout? But there is this definite.
Well, it's because there's no tethering, exactly. So all three of us are kind of going to the central hub of Google. But then there's this thing
Why
where
isn't the central hub of Kiki
we're
just
both
as
going
good?
to Kiki.
Yes,
Because
but
we're
are we
going to
taking a
Kiki,
longer route?
and then Kiki's sending it back.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's the thing is you're getting me after I've gone to Kiki's house and then flown back. And then when you say something, you have to fly all the way to Kiki's and then tell her and then fly back.
Yeah. And then
And
to
so
you. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
what we really need
exactly.
is for
We need a quantum
Kiki
computer.
to send herself
Yeah.
to the computer. Here, no, but then
That'll do it.
wait,
Yeah.
I don't.
Faster computer
We just need faster
again.
electrons. Can we get those? We order some of those?
Some faster computers?
Faster electrons.
Faster electrons, right.
Oh,
the
faster
electrons that have been sped up. That would mean having an electron speeder upper. A linear accelerator.
Makes sense.
I don't have one of those. Yeah. But I will work on that. And I will do that. And, Monkey has color correction stuff for the new setup. Awesome. Yeah, Identity 4. Let's all get quantum computers. Everyone needs to get rid of their butt-face computers and get quantum computers. Yes. Yes.
Where's Mike?
How did we do this?
On the radio. On this old-timey thing called the radio.
I know. And the radios, though, radio stations, KTVS was not like a, very forward-thinking radio station. They didn't have an ISDN line. The ISDN line would have been key. We just used the phone. And so the phone had a little bit of lag. ISDN were like these, they were basically like internet for voice. where it was this really fast, crystal clear conversation, almost like having somebody be there with very little static. That's what the internet does for us now, except there's still transfer time. Oh yes, Bleak, I did get a new PC for the new setup. Oh, I don't know how to do a screen share to show you the things. There's something...
Rob, I was thinking the same thing. I don't know if that makes any sense either, but...
Maybe if there was a fourth computer acting as the server,
were all
right?
Sending to a computer that, in a way that we weren't tethering. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to. What are we using? What is this weird close-up photo box that I'm in?
It's called vMix. Do you want to be? You want to be not in that box? You want to be there?
Ah! Oh no! I've got too much. I'm all alone.
Here, let me wipe us. I wiped you out.
Oh, Mike!
We have got some high-tech.
Very fancy.
Wait. Zoom!
Oh my god! I know the guy. That's
so,
me, right?
progressively, as we've been talking,
You want to fly?
Kiki has been getting Kiki has been getting louder, and Justin has been getting quieter for like a while now.
I haven't done anything. Oh wait,
So
here comes a cube zoom.
Volume level, and then during the show, she continually adjusts it. And turns
I
it down
didn't.
a little bit.
I set it to forget it, dude.
Wow, this camera makes my paperclip look huge.
Ooh, I like that one. Did you see that? Look, let's cut back and merge. Ooh,
I like that.
That was good.
You have a star wipe in there. I really like star wipes.
I'll see if I've got a vertical slide reverse.
Wow.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, Stinger 1. I don't know what Stinger 1 is. Ooh, Stinger 1.
I know.
And now I have Stinger 2. It's just a fade.
Oh, it's sort of a little bit of a fade in going on.
Yeah. I don't have a star. I'm sorry, I don't have a star.
Man.
Yeah.
Throw it in the
I'm gonna wipe you
garbage.
out again. Wipe you out.
Maybe Justin's mic just gets more and more deaf over the duration of the show. Very possible.
Yeah.
Burn it through the mic.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. Here, now I'm gonna sit down. Now I am sitting in a chair.
Oh no. Kiki's forehead.
Hello, everybody. I'm just going to speak to you from down here.
I know, my legs are tired.
Yeah, so there are a few things I still need to figure out. Bleak, I gotta tell you about this computer of mine. This computer is amazing.
I gotta roll. I gotta go.
My computer's really pretty.
man.
Okay,
Peace
you gotta
out,
roll.
See y'all next week.
Ciao.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yes. See you then. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe we should all go. Blair's legs are tired. I have obviously some research to do.
My brain hurts from moving this arm and that one moving.
Next time I'll mirror you. I'm sorry I didn't mirror you. Here. Wait.
I'm confused.
Hold on, Blair. Here, Blair. I didn't do it in the beginning.
Oh, it's so much better.
I have a question. Are these depositions? If I point,
Hallelujah.
it is very disconcerting. Even Kai picked up on it right away. He was like, "What?
Why is it backwards?"
Oh man. Kiki, you just vMix is back in. I wanted you to throw it in the garbage. I'm okay with it now.
Look here. I'll mirror Justin. I just didn't do it. There was a lot to do in the beginning, and I didn't do it. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I didn't want to slow everything down. I didn't want to tell you quite how upsetting it was. But I'm much better now.
Oh my god,
it's like
that's been me co-hosting with you two this whole show. I was some new guy. I've been here being all bitter, like, oh, they found somebody to replace me. That's been the whole time. I couldn't even recognize my other dimensional self.
You know how you like to pretend that you're very symmetrical, but you're super not, right? And so this whole time I've just been distracted by the fact that I looked not
different.
hideous, but just like disfigured or stuff.
Blair?
Just because it just
Blair?
didn't look right.
Blair, you do realize
What?
that that's the you that everybody else sees all the time.
All the time.
I don't want to know that. Don't you tell me that.
Like, this is illusion right here. Like the other one's the actual you that's in the world.
No,
I'm
I
almost
won't
like,
hear it. La 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 la.
I'm almost convinced that I need to change the parting on my hair to the other side because I realize the mirror has been lying to me.
The mirror's been lying.
I thought I was
man.
parting it here, but it's actually on that. I need to rethink this whole thing.
It's so I noticed that I don't smile symmetrically, and so this whole show I was seeing this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, me too. Me
So
too.
is
I
the
had the
writing
exact
back?
same feeling.
Is the writing backwards?
yeah.
Yeah, the writing's backwards. You should be able to read that.
But why isn't it upside down?
Oh.
Dun dun dun. I'm unmirroring myself so that I can do this. Like
Nice.
that. There we go. But I'm backwards. I'm backwards. I'm backwards.
Yeah, that's
Healed by the power of the mirror.
Woof.
Healed by the power of the mirror. There we go.
okay. Let me do this again. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. She is
Okay.
free. She's free at last. Free at last. There's twists here. Need to figure out how to make that higher. I can do that. I can do all this.
Oh no. All
right, kids.
Does Justin know what his voice really sounds like to all of us?
No.
No, it's a terrifying subject.
I'm using vMix, Gord McLeod. I'm testing it out. Testing out the vMix.
All right, cool. Yeah, I gotta go.
Are
say goodnight,
you doing open mic or something again?
Justin. Am I doing open mic? No.
You're just going
No,
out.
I'm just going out. It's early, you know. I live in a lively city. I need to get out there before the rooster crows.
So
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Gonna go tip some cows.
I'm like, and
Well, you know,
I will be
if-
going to bed.
If they give me
Ride
good
around on
service,
some tractors. Yeah. Good.
Oh yeah,
yep,
yeah, Rob. I have a green screen. I've got so many things back here.
That's crazy. It's all green.
Green. Oh, and it wants to all come down.
I heard a lot more falling sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, the chains. The chains
Kiki,
are
did I
coming
hear-
down.
Did I hear cat drama during the show?
Yeah, I think so.
Like I heard this meow in the background, and then like 2-3 minutes later, I heard.
Cat drama, so much.
Oh
Always
my god! Well,
cat
you're
drama.
in their house now, right? Because you're in the,
Okay.
I
in the
know.
basement.
Good night.
Cat Town.
I gotta go.
This
Okay,
is
good
Cat Town
night.
for sure.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, so let's all go. We're all gonna go.
Okay,
I'm gonna
say
do
goodnight, Justin.
research.
Good night, Blair. Good night, Justin.
Good night, Blair. You did it all wrong.
Say good night, Blair.
Good night, Blair. Say good night, Justin.
Good night, Justin. We'll
Good
never
night,
be at the
Kiki.
same time.
They were almost there. They were almost at the exact same time.
Good night, Kiki.
Good night, Kiki.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for another great show, everyone. It was so much fun, you guys. Thanks for bearing with us and for being a part of our testing on of everything tonight. I'm glad we got a show out. And identity, I will we'll figure something out for the file. We'll figure it out. Thank you, everyone. Good night. See you next week.